by this subsection shall be submitted in unclassified form, but may contain a classified annex if necessary. 4. Appropriate congressional committees defined. In this subsection, the term appropriate congressional committees means a. The Committee on Foreign Relations, the Committee on Armed Services, and the Select Committee on Intelligence of the Senate, and b. The Committee on Foreign Affairs, the Committee on Armed Services, and the Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence of the House of Representatives. Sec. 1341. Limitation on support to military forces of the Kingdom of Morocco for multilateral exercises. A. In general. None of the funds authorized to be appropriated by this Act or otherwise made available to the Department of Defense for fiscal year 2022 may be used by the Secretary of Defense to support the participation of the military forces of the Kingdom of Morocco in any multilateral exercise administered by the Department of Defense unless the Secretary determines, in consultation with the Secretary of State, that the Kingdom of Morocco is committed to seeking a mutually acceptable political solution in Western Sahara. b. Waiver. The Secretary may waive application of the limitation under subsection a. If the Secretary submits to the Congressional Defense Committees a written determination and justification that the waiver is important to the national security interests of the United States. Title 14 Other Authorizations Subtitle A Military Programs Sector 1401 Working Capital Funds Sector 1402 Chemical Agents and Munitions Destruction, Defense. Sector 1403. Drug Interdiction and Counter-Drug Activities, Defense-wide. Sector 1404. Defense Inspector General. Sector 1405. Defense Health Program. Subtitle B Other Matters Sector 1411. Acquisition of strategic and critical materials from the National Technology and Industrial Base. Sector 1412. Authorization to loan materials in National Defense Stockpile. Sector 1413. Authority for transfer of funds to Joint Department of Defense Department of Veterans Affairs Medical Facility Demonstration Fund for Captain James A. Lovell Healthcare Center, Illinois. Sector 1414. Authorization of appropriations for Armed Forces Retirement Home. Subtitle A Military Program Sec. 1401. Working Capital Funds. Funds are hereby authorized to be appropriated for fiscal year 2022 for the use of the armed forces and other activities and agencies of the Department of Defense for providing capital for working capital and revolving funds, as specified in the funding table in Section 4501. Sect 1402. Chemical agents and munitions destruction. Defense. A. Authorization of appropriations. Funds are hereby authorized to be appropriated for the Department of Defense for fiscal year 2022 for expenses, not otherwise provided for chemical agents and munitions destruction. Defense, as specified in the funding table in Section 4501. B. Use amounts authorized to be appropriated under subsection A are authorized for 1. The destruction of lethal chemical agents and munitions in accordance with Section 1412 of the Department of Defense Authorization Act, 1986, 50 U.S.C. (1521) and 2. The destruction of chemical warfare material of the United States that is not covered by Section 1412 of such Act. Sect 1403. Drug interdiction and counter-drug activities, defense-wide. Funds are hereby authorized to be appropriated for the Department of Defense for fiscal year 2022 for expenses, not otherwise provided for drug interdiction and counter-drug activities, defense-wide, as specified in the funding table in Section 4501. Sect 1404. Defense Inspector General. Funds are hereby authorized to be appropriated for the Department of Defense for fiscal year 2022 for expenses, not otherwise provided for the Office of the Inspector General of the Department of Defense, as specified in the funding table in Section 4501. Sect 1405. Defense Health Program. Funds are hereby authorized to be appropriated for fiscal year 2022 for the Defense Health Program for use of the armed forces and other activities and agencies of the Department of Defense for providing for the health of eligible beneficiaries, as specified in the funding table in Section 4501. Subtitle B. Other Matters. Sec. 1411. Acquisition of strategic and critical materials from the National Technology and Industrial Base. The Strategic and Critical Materials Stockpiling Act, 50 U.S.C. 98 at Sec. is amended, 1. in Section 6, b. 2. by inserting to consult with producers and processors of such materials before to avoid, 2. in Section 12, by adding at the end the following new paragraph. 3. The term National Technology and Industrial Base has the meaning given such term in Section 2500 of Title 10, United States Code. and 3 in Section 15A, in paragraph 3, by striking and at the end, b, in paragraph 4, by striking the period at the end and inserting, and c, by adding at the end the following new paragraph. 5. If domestic sources are unavailable to meet the requirements defined in paragraphs 1 through 4, by making efforts to prioritize the purchase of strategic and critical materials from the national technology and industrial base. Sect 1412. Authorization to loan materials in national defense stockpile. Section 6 of the Strategic and Critical Materials Stockpiling Act, 50 U.S.C. (98E) is amended by adding at the end the following new subsection. F. The President may loan stockpile materials to the Department of Energy or the military departments if the President 1. Has a reasonable assurance that stockpile materials of a similar or superior quantity and quality to the materials loaned will be returned to the stockpile or paid for. 2. Notifies the Congressional Defense Committees, as defined in Section 101A of Title 10 United States Code, in writing, not less than 30 days before making any such loan, and 3. Includes in the written notification under paragraph 2 sufficient support for the assurance described in paragraph 1. Sect 1413. Authority for transfer of funds to Joint Department of Defense Department of Veterans Affairs Medical Facility Demonstration Fund for Captain James A. Lovell Healthcare Center, Illinois. A. Authority for transfer of funds. Of the funds authorized to be appropriated for Section 1405 and available for the Defense Health Program for operation and maintenance, $137 million may be transferred by the Secretary of Defense to the Joint Department of Defense Department of Veterans Affairs Medical Facility Demonstration Fund established by subsection A.1 of Section 1704 of the National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2010, Public Law 111-84, 123 Stat 2571. For purposes of subsection A.2 of such Section 1704, any funds so transferred shall be treated as amounts authorized and appropriated specifically for the purpose of such a transfer. B. Use of transferred funds for the purposes of subsection B of such Section 1704. Facility operations for which funds transferred under subsection A may be used are operations of the Captain James A. Lovell Federal Healthcare Center, consisting of the North Chicago Veterans Affairs Medical